Hey y'all, I'm Lily O'Reilly. This is Lily O'Reilly Reviews, and today we're going to talk about lube. Let's get to it, huh? Okay, so this is one of my Ko-Fi commissioned videos, and I'm working through the backlog. So today we are going to talk about lubricant. What the types are, what you need to avoid, some emerging controversies, things like that. And I just realized my glasses are filthy, so give me 1 second. Also, you guys better know that I love you because I just spent 20, 30 minutes going all the way around my house collecting all the different bottles of lube, high def, that I could find so that I could actually bring them here and we could talk about it. So, let's talk about types. There are 3 main types of lubricant. You have water-based, which is like this one from Promescent, this one from Sliquid, this other one from Sliquid, this other one from Promescent, this one from Vibed, that's a CBD lube, that's water-based. These 2 ones from Paliqueth that came with my Tantalus torsos, those are water-based. If you can't tell, I kind of have a preference. Bad Dragon's Cum Lube and Clear Cum Lube are all water-based. This Sliquid that is an anal lube, water-based. Yeah, so there's that. Then there are silicone-based, which I don't... Okay, hang on. Aha. I'm testing out some lubes for Synovator, and luckily some of them are silicone-based, which is helpful. So I have 1 bottle of silicone-based lube. There are also hybrids between water and silicone that have some properties of each. We'll talk about those. And then the final one is oil-based. And the one container of oil-based that I have is a brand called Boy Butter. Yep, you heard me right, Boy Butter. It's useful. I should probably get another one though, I'm running low. So, those are the 3 types. Now let's talk about them. Water-based, super awesome. The primary ingredient is water. It's easy to wash off skin, it's easy to wash off clothes. It generally doesn't stain fabrics or anything else. However, it does get absorbed into the skin, which means you either have to reapply it and or reactivate it with water or spit or more water-based lube to kind of get it running again. It's safe for pretty much every condom type out there. It comes in different thicknesses. So like this Vibed CBD is on the it's on the runnier end. It kind of generally falls right off my hands. I should have gotten a towel. That was an oversight. Hang on, lube hand. Okay. Never do a lube test without it. By comparison, there's a Promescent water-based, still pretty runny. You'll see that you don't get a lot of viscosity. You get a nice smear to them. They are soft. By and large, they usually don't smell, but it takes quite a bit of rubbing for them to stop being slimy, slippery. We're gonna ignore that for right now. That's another Promescent. Sliquid, another really good reputable brand. Theirs tends to be a little thicker. You can pick up just the barest hints of cling. They have a slightly thicker water-based. I tend to go for thinner water-based personally, just because I found that the thicker ones dry out a little bit quicker, so you're constantly trying to re-wet them. Water-based, generally speaking, kind of awesome. Now, silicone, on the other hand, damn near impossible to wash off. Could stain your clothes. Is an absolute floor and surface hazard. If you get this on your floor, you will bust your ass. I had an incident when I was in college where I was trying to have sex in the shower, and we used silicone lube because water doesn't remove it. So if you're going to have sex in water, which I kind of don't encourage, silicone is a really good lube for that. But we got it on the floor, and the cleaning lady about busted her ass. She wasn't able to get it clean. Oh great, now everything's shiny. She wasn't able to get it clean. When we came in there like later that day, the next day to shower, when the water got on it, it got slippery again. It just was, oh yeah, that's not coming off my glasses. Everything's got like that late night automobile tail light on the highway sheen to it. Great. But on the bright side, SiliconeBased is super, super, super dear sweet Jesus slippery. You will almost never get any kind of stick or cling to it, but I could rub my fingers together for 30, 40 minutes and it would still be just as slippery as it was. See? Now, the nice thing about this is it stays slippery for forever. However, it is safe for condoms, by and large. It is not safe for silicone toys. Hang on. No, private number, I will not be answering. It is not safe for silicone toys. Some people will tell you that, oh, well, high quality silicone toys can handle silicone lube. Some people will say no. I've done an experiment where I put lots of little chunks of silicone in a jar and stored it with silicone lube, and it didn't really do much, but some of them thinned out, and I don't have a good enough answer to feel qualified to tell you do or don't. I won't, for me. If I do have to use a silicone lube, it's usually a hybrid, and I wash it off right after just to be safe. Because of how slippery it is, a lot of people tend to use it for things like anal. I really love silicone lube for hand jobs because, especially for penises without foreskins that don't self-lubricate, silicone's great because you can get that nice slipperiness to it without having to constantly reapply and reapply and reapply the way you have to with water-based. Flip side, don't love silicone for blowjobs because it can leave kind of a funny taste in your mouth. And there are some studies that low-key suggest that ingesting silicone not super great for you. I also worry about what it will do to like the vaginal membranes if you're using it on the outside of a condom, inside of a vagina. Not super great. Rectally, anally, I'm perfectly fine with that. Externally, doesn't seem to be a problem. So, then you have hybrids. Hybrids are great because you get the best of both worlds and the worst of both. A hybrid, this one still has its liner in, is a mix of a silicone and a water-based. So you'll get a little bit of that viscous pull that you get from water-based, where they kind of cling and you get a little more viscosity. You get the long-lasting slipperiness of silicone. Downside is, it can still dry out a little bit. You might get a little bit of tackiness, but because you've already got that silicone base in there, when you add water to it to reactivate it, it makes it extra slippery on top of the silicone. So if I was going to use a preferred hand job blowjob lube, I would go with a hybrid silicone water-based just because It seems to do best in a mildly wet environment. A company that is a hybrid that I super love is called Spunk. They do a realistic cum lube that basically utilizes the fact that it's kind of translucent. I think they put titanium dioxide in it. I know someone mentioned that that is a potential carcinogen. However, it's also in Bad Dragon's cum lube. It's in most of them because it's what makes them white. And for some of us, when we need a realistic looking cum lube, you kind of pick your battles. Okay, it's probably a little bit of a carcinogen, but so are a lot of other things. Hold on, I just spotted my Spunk lube. I don't know how I missed this thing while I was hunting the house, but Spunk is a phenomenal hybrid lube. It's thick, it's creamy, it looks fairly realistic on camera, and it has all of the other good properties of the hybrid lubes I mentioned. I use this one intermittently for actual play. Mostly I just keep bottles of Spunk around for when I need a fairly realistic looking shot. So yeah. Now, finally, oil-based. If you've ever heard the old stories of people in the Navy getting in trouble for selling their Crisco to the gay clubs in Philadelphia, this is why. OilBased is the phenomenal top tier anal fisting lube out there. If you're going to be putting really big things in butts, I and a lot of other people swear by a good oil-based lube. And if you don't have access to a good oil-based lube, a big tub of Crisco is pretty much just as good. So, oil-based, the reasons why we like it. It's long-lasting. It absorbs really slow. It will stain fabric. Like, it's an oil. If you've ever dripped on your t-shirt and gotten an oil blotch, you know what it's going to do to fabric. Now, downsides. This shit eats condoms. It does. It can degrade latex, polyisoprene, polyurethane, which that covers the majority of internal and external condoms. Both traditional condoms, FC2s, female condoms, all of those can be degraded by oil. But, you say, there are lambskin condoms. Lambskin condoms will not be degraded by an oil-based lube. However, a lambskin condom, due to the fact that it is literally made out of a skin, has holes in it. Those holes are big enough that a sperm bounces off of them and can't get through. However, smaller viral particles like HIV straight through the holes and out into the rectum. So if you're only using them to prevent pregnancy, and for some reason you want to use Crisco with your condom that you're only using to prevent pregnancy, which I wouldn't recommend. Oil-based lubes can clog pores. I would not be super sold on using them vaginally. Yeah, I wouldn't use a lambskin condom ever for me personally, so I don't know. This won't eat them, but I generally speaking don't think you should use them. Great for butt stuff though. Butt stuff with toys, because it doesn't do anything to silicone toys. It just eats latex. As I said, it can clog pores, so you kind of want to be careful. I personally won't use oil vaginally. Now, I'm going to get people in my comments, the hippy-dippy types, that want to use coconut oil. I have used coconut oil both vaginally and anally and not had serious problems with it. I, however, kind of stopped doing that because coconut oil can develop mold if you're using the type that's solid at room temperature. I won't use the type that's fractionated or liquid at room temp because it changes the chemical structure of it in ways that I haven't fully researched, and I don't super trust it like that. So, Do your own research. If you really want to use coconut oil, it's not the worst thing in the world. I do not trust oil around latex, polyisoprene, or polyurethane condoms, though. That means any condoms other than a lambskin, don't trust if you're using them with oil. They're going to be more prone to break. But in terms of using it for butt stuff, this shit's amazing. Now, I'm going to be honest, my container's old. Due to the pandemic, I got a little bit through it and then didn't do any butt stuff for like 2 years with people. So this is pretty much expired. I'm due to get another tub. But it looks like this. It's white, creamy, oil. Literally. It's oil. You're not going to get a super lot of pull, but it absorbs really, really slow. It still maintains that viscosity once you get it on a finger, which makes it really, really good for butt stuff. Yep, mine's old. It's got that smell oils get when they start to turn rancid, which honestly for me, not the end of the world because it's going in a butt and those don't smell that awesome to begin with, so whatever. But really useful. Now, boy butter in particular is made with vegetable oils, glycerin, glyceryl stearate, phenyl trimethicone. So they've got a little bit of a silicone in here, which means I should probably clean this off my toys after I use them just to be safe. And a glyceryl distearate. Now this recommends polyurethane condoms instead of latex. The research I saw said that oil can also degrade polyurethane, so use at your own risk. I'd say you're definitely better off using polyurethane than latex because latex absolutely gets degraded pretty quickly. And note, if you're looking at a lube and you see ethicone, ethicone at the end of a word, or even cone, honestly, you're probably looking at a silicone neighbor or derivative or something, and it's best to treat it like it's a silicone containing lube. So, that's all great. What do we avoid in our lubes? Because a lot of things can be added to lube. Some of those are things that are actively bad for the body. So, things that I will not allow in my lube include Nanoxyl 9. Nanoxyl 9 is a compound that is sometimes put on the outside of a condom or included in a lubricant, and it's a spermicidal compound. Now, the problem with Nanoxyl 9 is, yes, it does kill sperm, but it also eats little holes into your mucous membranes, which increases irritation, increases the likelihood of infection, and drastically increases the likelihood of getting a sexually transmitted infection. So, if you're using a contraceptive method that includes the use of Nanoxyl 9 as a spermicide, or any spermicide really, you need to be hyper aware of and make sure to get your partners tested so that there is no potential STI, STD transfer. You do not want to pick up a sexually transmitted infection because you were being extra overzealous about killing sperm. 2, I avoid glycerin like the plague. Now, with that said, there are lots of people with cast iron cooters who can have glycerin in their lubes without any problem. I'm kind of prone to yeast infections. Glycerin is a sugar. Yeast eats sugar, procreates, and then I wind up with an overgrowth of yeast that I have to take a pill for. It's frustrating. With that said, let's see how many of my water-based lubes have glycerin in them. This one, the numbing lubricant that you should never use, because if your lubricant includes numbing, you're not listening to your butthole. If you're not listening to your butthole, you're likely to damage it. I literally only keep this around for like chastity play because sometimes it's fun to numb the dick. But it has glycerin as the third ingredient by weight. Not safe for vaginas that get yeast infections. Promescent, premium lubricant. Glycerin as the second ingredient by weight. Which, if you didn't know, labels list their things by order of weight in the product. So the first thing is whatever is the most of the bottle, usually. So the Vibed CBD oil, no glycerin. They use xanthan gum instead, which is apparently fine. Sliquid H2O has no glycerin in it, which is really nice. Because the Sliquid promise is that their products are always free of DEA, gluten, glycerine, glycerol, parabens, PEG, propylene glycol, sorbitol, and sulfates, and they're vegan friendly. I like these. But yes, so Sliquid, no glycerin. The other Promescent lube, which is organic and aloe based. Nope, no glycerin. They use xanthan gum. The ones from Palaqueth, no clue. They don't even give you an ingredients listing on the bottle. No bueno. Bad Dragon Cum Lube. No glycerin. Bad Dragon Clear Cum Lube. No glycerin. Now, I did hear some things about Bad Dragon reformulating their clear and cum lubes, and that there was some hinky shit going on, so I haven't used mine yet. I'm kind of waiting for somebody else to chime in. And then the Boy Butter does have glycerin in it, which makes 0 sense to me because I would not be putting that in my mouth. But it's okay. That's fine. Not for vaginas anyway. I also try to avoid propylene glycol, which is a super common ingredient in lube because it can cause vaginal irritation. Well, honestly, it can cause mucous membrane irritation, which would totally include the butt too. I have a finicky vagina, so I try to avoid that. Now, we know Sliquid doesn't have it. The Liquid Sex does not, but they do have parabens, which is annoying. Promescent, the organic one doesn't. The premium WaterBased has pentylene glycol, which I'm not sure if it also causes irritation. And the hemp one doesn't, so that's all useful. None in the cum lube, none in the clear cum lube, so that's all pretty cool. Does the butt lube have it? No. Okay, cool. Petroleum. Petroleum is a massive thing to avoid putting in your vagina. Do not use Vaseline as lube for vaginal stuff. I personally don't use it for butt stuff either, but have in the past and haven't had terrible results. The problem with petroleum is that it changes your pH and it can cause outbreaks of bacterial vaginosis. So the same way that sugar increases your yeast, petroleum can swing your pH the other way and cause bacterial vaginosis, which is not in there. Definitely not in the organic one. Nope. I'm betting it's not in the hemp one. Nope. And then these guys never include petroleum, so it makes it easier. This one? Nope. Cool. Parabens. We've talked about parabens in the past because there are some toy products. Toy ingredients? Toy materials. Sure. There's some toy materials that have parabens in them. This is a problem because parabens have been shown to be endocrine disruptors, which means they fuck with your hormones. They can possibly increase the likelihood of breast cancer. They're just in general, I try and stay away from parabens. You also have to watch out. They're in your shampoos, they're in plastics. Parabens are everywhere, and dodging them is almost a full-time job. So when I can find something like a lube that allows me to limit my exposure, I try to do so. Now, Sliquid always avoids parabens. They're a nice, safe brand. There are no parabens in the hemp. There are no parabens in the WaterBased. I'm betting there's no parabens in the aloe-based. I would not be surprised. Yep. The numbing lube absolutely has methylparaben and propylparabens in them. None in the Bad Dragon lubes. And none in the Boy Butter. So it's an easy little thing when you're looking for lubes, just check. And then there's one more that I very almost never see, but it's important to keep an eye out for, which is chlorohexidine gluconate. Literally, just because if you're like me and you're super sensitive anyway, it can irritate your skin. So it's just another thing to keep an eye out for. And usually things like Sliquid that generally limit their ingredients, pretty much always safe. Although, I will note this for other people with non-aftermarket vaginas. If you are in the early stages of a yeast infection, you might find that all of your lubes burn. Like, just you put them on and they burn. It's the weirdest thing. It took me almost a decade to figure out what was causing it, because I thought, okay, all lubes are just terrible forever. Not the case. Some lubes are just reacting to me. I've found that things like the Vibed hemp are really good in terms of being non-reactive for sensitive vaginas. The Promescent aloe-based has been really good. Which one is it that I liked better? I think it was the Sassy that I liked better, judging by the fact that the bottle's almost empty, because that one's a little thicker than the H2O, which still has a mostly full bottle. That's the list of things that you should avoid, though. Nonoxyl 9, glycerin, propylene glycol, petroleum, parabens, and chlorohexidine gluconate. Some of those are more or less important, but if you're like me and you got a finicky fanny, it's worth dodging them, because there are brands out there that make a point of making safer, simpler lubes. Now, for my final point, and probably my most controversial one, I have been looking into a concept called osmolality and its correlation to tissue damage in lubricant. So, osmolality refers to the concentration of dissolved particles in a solution. Low means that a solution is very dilute. It's more water than particles. A high osmolality means that there is a lot of particles and little water. This is important because if you remember the concept of osmosis, if you put up a permeable barrier, things will move from high to low. Basically, an area with more particles will pull water across a barrier to increase the water to particle ratio. Now, they've been doing studies on this because a lot of what's been looked into with regard to lubricant has to do with skin, not skin. There are different effects. So things like KY jelly, specifically the warming brand. Now, when I worked at the adult shop, I warned people off of KY all day long. I won't touch it. I won't even use it for hand jobs. I have a deep, burning, visceral hatred for KY. If you ever see me getting sponsored by KY, they are either paying me out the ass or it's a call for help. Watch the facial expression, you'll be able to tell the difference. So, KY jelly warming has an osmolality that is 30 times higher than that of a mucous membrane. It increased the uptake of herpes 9 times. 900% in lab rodents. Now, mind you, this is not something we can really ethically test on humans, so most of these tests are either done on tissue cultures or on rodents. And at the end, I will find the little graph I found that shows the tissue degradation after exposure to different lubricants, and I'll put it up here. But the problem is hyperosmolar lubricant that has a lot of particles and just a little bit of water, can cause tissue shedding 60 to 90 minutes after application. This is a problem in terms of irritation, in terms of it's degrading your barrier that protects you from sexually transmitted infections. It is not good for you, for your vag, honestly for your butt either, because HIV can get through the butt walls, especially when they're degraded. It's dangerous. They are saying that agar-based, the stuff that we pour into trays when we're culturing bacteria, lubes that are made from that could easily be a lot safer because it has an osmolality that is closer to that of a mucous membrane. There's one particular brand called Good Clean Love that I swear to God I've used. It is a green container, kind of looks like this kind where you squish it like toothpaste. If I had it, it has vanished into the ether, but I am 98% certain I've used it, and I think I used it completely up because it didn't react with me at all the way that others do. It's a very good brand. But most of the risks for the osmolality issue come in terms of if you're using it while having unprotected sex, it drastically increases your likelihood of STI acquisition. If you're using it on your own, less of a problem unless, like me, you have a job that means that you're using it multiple times a day or multiple days in succession, or you're using a lot of it, because it can damage your mucous membranes. So here's the point where if I can find the chart, I'm going to put the chart up. It covers things like KY jelly and Astroglide and things like that. By and large, mostly look for agar-based brands like Good Clean Love. Look for brands that have a more body-based osmolality, which can be difficult. It's not like there's been anyone out there that's done a massive rundown of all the different brands and how they compare, but if nothing else, don't buy KY. It's cheap and it's not worth it. So yeah, that is everything that I have on lube right out the gate. That is, I think, more information than most people need to know, but hopefully you found it helpful. Now, if you want to come hang out on my Discord and talk about lube and other things with us, if you want to see everywhere else I exist online, that is all beacons.ai/Lillibut or find.lilyoreilly.com. Take your pick. If you want to toss me $3 or more on Ko-Fi, that's ko-fi.com/LilyO'Reilly. Not obligatory, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, that kind of makes you awesome. Now, that's what I got. I'm tired. My coffee and I are going to go home and take a nap. Yeah. In the meantime, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, don't use spermicidal lube, and don't use lambskin condoms. Yeah. Bye, guys.